With an update on AEW and WWE's weekly testing policies and news of Rey Mysterio possibly being hurt, this is Wrestling Hub. My name is John and you're watching the Wrestling Report for December 31st. Before we get into the rest of the video, make sure you subscribe to Wrestling Hub and turn on all notifications to stay up to date with everything in the world of pro wrestling. Also, don't forget to follow us on Instagram at WrestlingHubOfficial and also follow us on Twitter at Wrestling_Hub. With him signing the likes of CM Punk, Bryan, Danielson, and Adam Cole this year, AEW is looking bigger and better than ever. Despite their success, Eric Bischoff took to his 83 Weeks podcast to say that AEW President Tony Khan is messing up his chance by taking shots at WWE. Tony is blowing a big opportunity. He really is, because AEW came into existence at a point in time when the audience was craving for an alternative. They had a clean slate. They didn't bring any negative baggage like WCW did when we launched Nitro. Everyone was telling us this is never going to work, Bischoff doesn't know what he's doing. AEW just did not have that issue. AEW came in with a massive amount of public support and goodwill. AEW just had to come out and say we're doing this and hire a couple of key pieces of talent, and they were off running. And they had all this goodwill. What happens when you start putting yourself over, in my opinion, prematurely, just in the way they are doing it, by constantly denigrating and comparing to WWE, is you start losing that goodwill because people see through it. At SummerSlam, Becky Lynch would make her long-awaited return, where she defeated the SmackDown Women's Champion Bianca Belair in 26 seconds. With CBS Sports, Drew McIntyre mentioned his match with Jinder Mahal that took place right after that squash, as he blamed Lynch for his match being lackluster. I didn't expect Becky to return. The match prior gave the crowd that reaction, that moment. Then when they expected the lengthy match with Becky and Bianca, it took the wind out of the sails by having the match be 20-something seconds. To walk out after that, the crowd was a bit deflated. It wasn't quite what I hoped reaction was. Perhaps it wasn't what I was hoping for match-wise, but it gave Drew McIntyre the big win on a big stage, a very dominant win. Even though sometimes I'm like, I want to go out there and have the best match possible, and do all the cool near falls and stuff. Sometimes you have to be saved from yourself, and protect the character and elevate the character. That was about elevating Drew McIntyre, and it did do that on a huge stage. After being the top star of NXT, Adam Cole would let his WWE contract expire and join his friends in AEW. With Bobby Fish and now Kyle O'Reilly a part of the company, it looks like we'll be getting a match with the Undisputed Era versus Omega and the Young Bucks. Talking about Cole's booking on his podcast, Jim Cornette said AEW is taken away from him, saying this about his match with Orange Cassidy. So as soon as I saw the match, they have completely nullified any meaningful impact that Adam Cole could have had on their business. He was a secondary, put in a secondary position when he made his debut underneath Bryan Danielson. Even after that, all he's been doing is associating with clowns and jackoffs and immersed himself in bad comedy, and I was hoping that the Undisputed Era reforming, or much of it, might have an impact. We will find out that it really will not. So I'll fast forward to this, because I'm not going to watch this match. It's a joke, right? It is simply an insult to what I thought Adam Cole had for a career. It went 20 minutes with this guy. One good sign is that Kyle O'Reilly and Bobby Fish are better than the Young Bucks. Earlier this month, Liv Morgan was able to main event Raw and challenge Becky Lynch for the women's title. With CBS Sports, Morgan talked about this bout, saying her suicide dive tribute to Trish and Lita was meant to happen. 100%. That day was the 17th anniversary of the infamous Trish vs. Lita match, the first ever women's main event for the Women's Championship. It felt so weird to me. It felt like it was meant to be. Everything felt so aligned. Becky has red hair. I have blonde hair. We have this match 17 years to the date, and we were the main event, which we didn't know until later in the day because we weren't the main event, and then we got switched to the main event. As soon as I realized that, I was like, I'm doing a dive. For the Day 1 pay-per-view, Morgan will have another chance to win the Raw Women's belt when she faces off against Lynch one more time. with him previously saying he needs to be more discerning when hiring talent from now on. AEW President Tony Khan told Yahoo Sports about the factors he takes into consideration before signing a free agent. I have to look at a variety of factors. There are some talent, when they become available, regardless of how they become available, I want to make a place for them because I know they can make a difference here. There are other times that I may have a specific idea for someone. Nobody else can do it because there are a variety of factors that I have to consider. There's the budget, where new people are going to fit on TV, will they be used on TV right away or in a developmental situation, or is it someone I am keeping for insurance in case they break out or we have injuries or circumstances that necessitate new faces in the mix. This year, more so than any other year prior, we saw difference-making names become available. Speaking of Khan, he talked to PW Insider recently about the AEW title match between Hangman Paage and Bryan Danielson, as he noted that the 60-minute time limit draw was incredible. While there are a lot of things we could have potentially done in that situation, I guess there's infinite possibilities, but that is what we were going to do, and it was a masterpiece. I'm so pleased with that match. I'm thrilled that the fans enjoyed it. I was absolutely thrilled that the ratings built as the match went on in the peak of the match, and such a great rating for the show for the final quarter of the match especially. It was just absolutely a big success for us, and now it builds to a rematch on such an important stage. This is a huge night for us, the debut on TBS. So the next few weeks are really important, and absolutely, that match was something we needed to get right. And I think we definitely did. People were looking forward to that match. And for Hangman, it was important for him to go out and have a great debut as champion. I think people were wondering if Hangman's going to be a one-match champ. The answer is no, but he is going to go back now and wrestle that same opponent, and I said, what's going to happen? After the 1 hour bout, I don't think anyone knows what to expect, which is exactly how we want it. I think it was just a perfect result, and assuming that both men were going to be able to last to 60 minutes and give us a great match. And I thought this was the perfect thing to do. Now that they've been through it and they put on that great match, I think there's no question it was the right thing to do. WWE had previously announced that Rey and Dominic Mysterio would be taking on the Street Profits during an episode of Raw, but Montez Ford was not available. In the Wrestling Observer newsletter, Dave Meltzer would point out that Rey was not 100%. Rey Mysterio was banged up from matches a few weeks back and had to take a week off, but obviously returned the next week. When WWE announced the Street Profits vs. Mysterio's match on December 13th was off and said it was due to injuries on both sides, it was Rey being hurt and Ford being out of action for health-related reasons. After being in a championship feud and facing off against Charlotte Flair for the SmackDown Women's title, Toni Storm would be released from WWE. This came as a shock to fans, with a rumor that Storm left without giving notice prior. Now Meltzer has noted that her schedule was changed at the last moment. Another story going around was that she was never booked for DC, and it was a last-minute call, and she was told at 8 a.m. that morning. She had a good main roster contract that she was walking away from. At the same time, they had done nothing with her for years, and this was by far the highest profile thing she had been doing. And walked out during a house show run where she was in the semi-main event every night this week. For New Year's Eve on January 4th, Cruiserweight champ Roderick Strong will take on North American title holder Carmelo Hayes. This will be a title unification bout, as the company made this announcement hyping up the match. Who is the premier champion of NXT, North American champion Carmelo Hayes or Cruiserweight champion Roderick Strong? Each superstar has been claiming that his championship is the top title in NXT, and the time has come for these superstars to put their money where their mouths are, by going title for title at New Year's Evil. Since cashing in his NXT Breakout Tournament contract to swipe the North American title, Hayes has been on a mission to elevate the title to the A championship of NXT. Meanwhile, Strong has been on the hunt for big money fights, suspending the stipulations for the Cruiserweight title to take on all competitors, including Odyssey Jones and Joe Gacy. With both stars declaring their superiority over NXT 2.0, it was only a matter of time before their paths crossed, resulting in a ringside melee. Who will walk out of New Year's Evil as the new NXT North American Cruiserweight champion? Find out January 4th at 8/7 Central on USA. With it reported that several WWE stars tested positive for COVID, WWE has taken precautions by pulling big-name talent from their recent holiday tour to ensure Day 1 goes off without a hitch. In The Observer, it was noted that WWE has been testing all wrestlers, but only those designated as talent were being tested. Other employees who toured with talent had quietly stopped being tested. Also, WWE quit testing their talent on a weekly basis, and we'll have to see how the Day 1 pay-per-view turns out. Despite WWE not testing for COVID every week, The Observer reported that we're told AEW was still testing people weekly who were not fully vaccinated, but those fully vaccinated were not being tested, or at least not regularly. Other sources in the company only said that there is also more to the policy than that without getting into specifics. Since the Royal Rumble last year, McIntyre was in the WWE title picture, facing Lashley multiple times for the belt until he lost at Hell in a Cell. Speaking to BT Sport, McIntyre was asked about him constantly challenging for the WWE title after losing it at Mania 37, as he responded, "It was weird because generally the good guy is the one chasing, and that's where the excitement is. I felt for a long period that as champion, that's where I was meant to be, and the chase was exciting from Rumble to Mania when I beat Brock. But there was a period where I felt I'm meant to be champion. During the Lashley stuff, perhaps the way we set up the matches, perhaps the narrative of Drew keeps getting title matches that we were pushing for some reason didn't exactly help during that period. Perhaps I could have gotten out of the title scene a little quicker after I lost the first match, and didn't have a couple of follow-up matches and started the rebuild again." With WWE pulling the likes of Roman Reigns, Big E, and Becky Lynch from their holiday tour to ensure the Day 1 pay-per-view matches couldn't go as planned, Kevin Owens would remain on the tour, as The Observer noted. For whatever reason, the decision was made for Kevin Owens to appear on all these shows this week, likely with the idea somebody had to. He seems to be the one they were most willing to risk of those in the two main events. With Seth Rollins announcing he was COVID positive, it remains to be seen if he'll take part in the fatal 4-way match for the WWE title at the pay-per-view. WWE President and Chief Revenue Officer Nick Khan has been at the center of controversy, given his stance on releasing mini-stars to help the company's bottom line. Now, it seems WWE took an anti-Nick Khan sign away from a fan on Raw, as Meltzer noted. There was a sign in the audience at Raw on December 27th that read, "Nick equals Khan, Tony equals Khan." Even though Vince wasn't at the show, he has a direct connection to the truck feed of the show and saw the sign, and it was described that he had quite a reaction and people were ordered to get that sign out of there, and they did so in seconds. In some tragic news, Boom Boom from Women of Wrestling has passed away, as WoW put out this heartfelt statement. "On behalf of our entire WoW Superheroes team, we send our deepest heartfelt sympathy to the family, friends, and fans of Patty Ann, better known to our WoW family as Boom Boom. We are sad to learn of her passing. Patty was an original WoW superhero that possessed the pizzazz personality that made her a natural fan favorite." And this was your Pro Wrestling News Update. I hope you're all having a great day. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you later.